Gladiator II is absolutely fantastic. I was thoroughly entertained. I will see it again, but not yet. Not yet. Ridley Scott, we salute you. Gladiator II has way more strength and honor than SAO. It's crazy how we have to wait 24 years for a Gladiator sequel, and yet every season there's at least 10 trashy SAO knockoffs. This is the consequence of supporting bad shows. SAO fans have taken everything from me, but I will have my vengeance. The odds are against me, but the odds are always against me. Everything is forgotten in time. Empires fall, so does SAO. SAO must fall. I need only give it a push. I will not waste another generation of young anime fans for SAO's vanity. I don't make videos for power. I make videos to free the anime community from SAO fans. What is the dream of the anime community if the people are not free? There once was a time when honor meant something in the anime community. In this anime community, I no longer believe that exists. We must find it. SAO fans, I will never be your instrument. In this life or the next. SAO fans can eat war. There are plenty of bad anime waiting for you in the next life. I don't know why you are so greedy for it in this one. What we do in life echoes in eternity. Here's why Gladiator 2 is much better than SAO. Afterwards, I'll show you another awesome movie starring Pedro Pascal. Gladiator 2 brings epic battles, intense drama, and a treasure trove of hidden gems. This breakdown dives into Easter eggs, trivia, and subtle details that might have gone unnoticed, from nods to Roman history, and clever callbacks to the original Gladiator. Here's a look at some of the most intriguing things in Gladiator 2. The Numidian chieftain is called Jubartha, a name that could be a nod to the Numidian king Jugurtha. Jaimon Hanzo was initially set to return as Juba, but couldn't due to scheduling issues. This character was probably meant to be Juba. The ramparts of Numidia are the same ones used for Jerusalem. In Ridley Scott's other movie, Kingdom of Heaven, they've been repainted and altered to give them a more ancient appearance. Some men are wearing the skin of a lion, which is similar to Hercules in Roman mythology, or Heracles in Greek mythology, who defeated the Nemean lion as part of his famous 12 labors. After Arishad dies, Lucius envisions her stepping onto a ferry alongside two hooded figures. This is similar to the ancient myth of Charon, the ferryman in mythology, who transported souls across the river Styx to the underworld after successfully conquering the city. Marcus says Vae Victis, which means woe to the conquered in Latin. However, the pronunciation is wrong. It should be Vae Victis, not Vae Victis. Rose petals are seen scattered on the steps. The ancient Romans did indeed throw rose petals and other flowers during certain ceremonies and celebrations. Caracalla received his nickname from a type of cloak he favored, which was called a caracalla. Gaeta gives Marcus a golden laurel wreath. These were symbols of honor, victory, and status. Lucius and the others are brought to Antium, an ancient coastal town located south of Rome. It was the birthplace of notable figures like Caligula and Nero, and was an important center of trade and military activity in ancient times. May Calamaui makes a cameo as an uncredited concubine to Macrinus. She was initially set to have a bigger role, but many of her scenes were ultimately cut from the movie. Someone who read an early draft of the script shared that May was Agrippina, a concubine trained by Macrinus to be an assassin, while Macrinus boosts Lucius and builds him up. He sends Agrippina on a quiet but deadly mission through the royal court, with Lucilla as her final target. Agrippina and Lucilla eventually cross paths, and it seems they might even form a bond, but the next morning Agrippina doesn't return to Macrinus, leaving him anxious and uncertain. Over the course of the story, Macrinus and Agrippina share a complex relationship that feels almost like a father and daughter. A crowd gathers in the Colosseum, unsure of the reason for a brazen bull in the center. Lucilla instructs a fire to be lit beneath it, as screams begin to echo from within. Macrinus' face shifts in horror as he realizes Agrippina is trapped inside. Forced to keep his composure, he's helpless to intervene without revealing his own involvement. Lucilla, fully aware of Macrinus' connection to Agrippina, uses the moment as a subtle display of her authority, forcing him to watch as Agrippina endures one of the most agonizing deaths imaginable. It's a chilling, calculated move that breaks Macrinus internally, setting up a big decision he makes later in the story. Ridley Scott came up with the idea for the baboon scene after witnessing an incident in South Africa in 2020. While there to film the pilot episode of Raised by Wolves, he saw a man get attacked by a troop of baboons. Lucius recites a quote from Virgil about how the gates of hell are open night and day. This is from the Aeneid, specifically from Book 6, where the hero Aeneas descends into the underworld. The quote highlights how death or downfall is easy and inevitable, but life, hope, and recovery require great effort, resilience, and strength. Macrinus gives Lucius 2 gold coins, known as Aureus. Macrinus has a quote from Cicero: "The slave dreams not of freedom, but a slave to call his own." The phrase explores the paradox of human desires, and how people, even when they're oppressed, might long for power or control over others. The wolf statue is based on the legendary tale of Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers who, according to Roman mythology, were raised by a she-wolf. Lucius sticks his sword into the ground and rubs sand in his hands, just like Maximus. Lucius decapitates an opponent while dual-wielding, which is just like what Maximus did. Alfie Tempest portrays the younger Lucius, who takes over from Spencer Treat Clark. Ravi says what we do in life echoes in eternity, which is what Maximus said. The quote suggests that the actions we take, especially the choices we make, have lasting consequences that extend far beyond our lifetime. Macrinus talks about Achilles. The Romans were familiar with Achilles. He's a central figure in the Iliad written by Homer. Macrinus has a a quote from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." This quote reflects the Stoic philosophy that revenge is not about retaliation, but about rising above the actions of those who wronged you. Macrinus mentions that women are not always to his taste, hinting at his potential attraction to men. In ancient Rome, it wasn't uncommon for men to have relationships with men and women, and such behavior was generally accepted. Interestingly, a scene was filmed in which Macrinus kissed a man on the lips, adding depth to this aspect of his character, but it was cut from the final version of the movie. Ravi mentions that he's from Varanasi, a city in northern India. Varanasi is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world. The naval battle recreates the Battle of Salamis, which took place in 480 BC. While the Master of Ceremonies refers to it as a battle between the Trojans and Persians, it was actually fought between the Greek city-states and the Persians. Vigo wonders who shot the crossbow bolt, and all the gladiators say it was them. This is a nod to the iconic scene in Spartacus, where every person in the crowd stands up and says, "I'm Spartacus," to protect the real one. In a flashback, Maximus tells Lucius about the horses on his armor, named Argento and Scarto. In Italian, these names translate to Silver and Trigger, which are the names of the famous horses belonging to the Lone Ranger and Roy Rogers. The Praetorian Guards wear purple, a color that held great significance in ancient Rome. It symbolized power, prestige, and wealth, with purple dye being particularly valuable. This made purple garments rare and exclusive. Lucius runs up the steps of the Colosseum in a way that mirrors Maximus from the first movie, evoking a sense of strength and determination. Lucius spares Marcus, much like how Maximus spared Tigris of Gaul in the first film. Both moments highlight the character's honor and sense of mercy. Choosing not to take the life of a fellow fighter, Lucius declares he will never be Macrinus' instrument, in this life or the next. Echoing Maximus' iconic line in the first film, Maximus famously told Commodus that he would have his vengeance, in this life or the next. Lucilla mentions the Fates, which is a reference to the ancient Greek and Roman belief in three powerful goddesses who control destiny. They were responsible for spinning, measuring, and cutting the thread of life, determining each person's fate. Lucilla and Lucius telling each other strength and honor is a reference to the famous line spoken by Maximus. It was actually a modified version of the Latin motto from Russell Crowe's High School, which translates to truth and virtue. Vigo is about to give Lucius the wooden sword of freedom, which is a Rudy's. It was given to a gladiator who earned their freedom after demonstrating exceptional skill and bravery in the arena. A tiger in a cage is a nod to the first Gladiator movie, where tigers were used in the arena. The movie ends in the Colosseum. Just like the first Gladiator, the music is also reminiscent, adding to the sense of continuity and emotional resonance. The shot of Maximus touching the wheat is reused here. Although it looks like Russell Crowe's hand, it's actually his stunt double Stuart Clark, bringing this iconic scene to life. Get ready to dive deep into Gladiator II and uncover how much of it matches real history. From intense gladiator fights to the brutal politics of the Empire, this analysis reveals what's accurate and what's pure Hollywood fantasy. Lucius and his wife Arisha live in Numidia. Although Lucius is based on a historical figure, the real Lucius died young, so he wouldn't have been alive during the events of the movie. Arisha, on the other hand, isn't based on a real historical person. Numidia was a Roman province, covering much of present-day northeastern Algeria and parts of Tunisia. Lucius takes the name Hanno as an alias, which is a traditional Carthaginian name. Marcus Acacius and his Roman forces invade Numidia. While Marcus is a fictional character, the Romans did conquer and annex Numidia. It was actually already conquered in 46 BC, which is around 250 years before this movie begins. Arisha is killed by an arrow, but this didn't happen in real life since she's a fictional character. Lucius is branded and taken to Rome as a prisoner of war. After conflicts with Rome, Numidians were often captured and brought to the city. Marcus returns to Rome after his campaign and meets with the emperors Gaeta and Caracalla. They were real historical figures, both sons of the Roman emperor Septimius Severus. They became co-emperors after their father's death, but their reign was marked by intense rivalry. Caracalla and Gaeta are twins, but in real life Caracalla was a year older than Gaeta. Although his full name was Lucius Septimius Bassianus, Caracalla got his nickname from the long hooded cloak he often wore, called a caracalla. The cloak was originally from Gaul, and Caracalla made it popular in Rome, and it stuck as the name we most associate with him today. Gaeta still aims to conquer Persia and India. The Romans had long been interested in these regions, but their attempts to conquer Persia and India were limited, and ultimately unsuccessful. Macrinus is based on a real historical figure, Marcus Opelius Macrinus, who was a Roman emperor from 217 to 218 AD. He was a high-ranking official, before seizing power after the assassination of Caracalla. Macrinus was the first emperor who wasn't from the traditional senatorial class, which made his rise to power particularly notable. The prisoners fight baboons, but there's no historical evidence that this happened. Marcus is married to Lucilla, but in reality Lucilla was married to Lucius Verus, and later to Claudius Pompeianus. There's a gladiator trainer named Vigo, but he's not based on a real historical figure. Lucilla says people don't support the emperors, and this is true. Gaeta and Caracalla's rivalry created tension among the Roman people and the elite, as many were divided in their loyalties. Lucius recites a quote from the poet Virgil. The people of ancient Rome were familiar with Virgil. The most famous gold coin in ancient Rome was the Arius, which was first introduced in the late Roman Republic, and was often issued by emperors to commemorate commemorate important events or victories. It weighed about 8 grams. Macrinus says that a gladiator can buy his own freedom, and this is true to an extent. Those who were skilled and successful in the arena could earn enough money through prizes, gifts, or sponsorships to eventually buy their freedom. However, not all gladiators had the chance to buy their freedom, as many were slaves or prisoners of war, so while it wasn't guaranteed, it was possible for gladiators to buy their freedom, if they were fortunate or skilled enough. Senator Gracchus is a returning character from the first movie. While he's not based on a real historical figure, his name is inspired by the Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius Gracchus, who were famous Roman politicians. There's a senator named Thrax, but he's not based on a real historical figure. The name is actually derived from a type of gladiator, known for fighting with a short sword and a small shield. The prisoners complain about how bad Rome smells. Ancient Rome often had a strong foul odor. There's a statue of a wolf and 2 brothers. This is based on the legend of Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers who, according to Roman mythology, were raised by a she-wolf after being abandoned as infants. The gladiators fight a rhino in the Colosseum. While such events were rare, gladiators did indeed face rhinos in the arena. However, there's no historical evidence that people rode the rhinos. Unlike horses or even elephants, which were sometimes trained for parades or battles, rhinos are highly aggressive and unpredictable, making them almost impossible to control or ride safely. Director Ridley Scott originally planned to include a rhino fight in the first movie. He even storyboarded the scene, but it was too expensive, so they had to save it for the sequel. Lucius rubbed sand in his hands just like Maximus. Gladiators often did this before a fight for practical reasons. The sand helped improve their grip on weapons and shields, preventing them from slipping during intense combat. Most gladiators didn't actually fight to the death. Gladiatorial combat was expensive, and trained fighters were valuable. The matches were often staged with rules, and many survived to fight again. A thumbs up is given for mercy, and thumbs down to kill, but the gestures were the opposite in ancient Rome. This reversal comes from modern interpretations, where thumbs up means approval, and thumbs down means disapproval. Lucius became the sole heir to the throne after Commodus died. Lucilla sent him away for his safety. In reality, after Commodus was assassinated, the Roman Empire entered a period of chaos, known as the Year of the 5 Emperors. There's a character named Ravi. He's a former gladiator turned doctor, but he's not based on a real person. Macrinus read Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. It's a collection of personal writings, reflecting his thoughts on life, duty, and inner strength. Macrinus is sponsoring gladiators, but there's no historical record of him doing this. Macrinus mentions that gladiators are typically prisoners of war or vagrants. This is true. Most gladiators were either captured prisoners of war, or individuals from lower social classes, who often had few other options but to fight in the arena. It's said that Lucilla married Lucius Verus in an arranged marriage at the age of 14. When Lucilla was between 11 and 13, her father arranged for her to marry his co-ruler Lucius Verus, who was 18 years older than her. Lucilla reveals that Maximus was the father of Lucius, but this isn't accurate. Maximus isn't even based on a real person. While naval battles were occasionally staged in the Colosseum, they were rare and only happened during special events. To recreate these battles, the arena was flooded with water, and specially built ships were brought in to reenact famous sea battles. However, there's no historical evidence to suggest that sharks were ever part of these naval battles. Capturing and keeping sharks would have been nearly impossible for the Romans. Their equipment wasn't suited for capturing such powerful predators, and transporting them would have been extremely difficult. Sharks require specific diets and conditions Romans couldn't provide. Even if caught, a shark wouldn't survive very long in the stressful, noisy environment of the Colosseum. Macrinus mentions he's owed 10,000 denarii. The denarius was the standard currency of the Roman Empire. It was widely used for everyday transactions. The Praetorian Guard often wore purple to signify their high status and close connection to the imperial family. Marcus is killed by archers, but this is fictional. Macrinus originally had a different name before adopting a Roman one. This is true. He was born as Marcus Opelius. It was common in ancient Rome, especially for those who rose to prominence, to take on a more Roman-sounding name to solidify their status and identity. There's no historical evidence to suggest that Caracalla had a pet monkey named Dondus. Macrinus helps Caracalla murder Gaeta, but in reality, Caracalla lured Gaeta into a meeting with their mother under the guise of reconciling. During the meeting, Caracalla's guards attacked Gaeta, and he was murdered in front of their mother. Macrinus wasn't involved. Lucilla gives Lucius a ring that belonged to her father and Maximus. However, there's no historical evidence supporting this. While it was common for Romans to pass down rings and other items as symbols of heritage, no records suggest Lucilla specifically gave one to Lucius. Caracalla naming Dondus as his first consul, and Macrinus as his second is fictional. Macrinus claims he was owned by Marcus Aurelius, but Macrinus was neither a slave nor a captive. He rose to prominence through his own military achievements. Macrinus kills Caracalla by stabbing him in the ear. This didn't happen in real life. Caracalla was assassinated on April 8th, 217 AD. He was murdered by a member of his own military staff. Macrinus kills Lucilla with an arrow. In reality, Lucilla died in 182 AD. Commodus ordered the execution of Lucilla, following a failed assassination attempt and coup. Lucius kills Macrinus. In reality, Macrinus died in 218 AD. After being overthrown in a rebellion led by Emperor Elagabalus, Macrinus ruled for over a year before he was killed. So as we've seen, Gladiator II mixes real history with a lot of creative storytelling. While some things in the movie are based on actual events, it definitely takes a lot lot of creative liberties to make things more exciting. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did the movie get it right, or did it go too far? Even with all its historical inaccuracies, I still found Gladiator II really entertaining. The action scenes were amazing, and the acting was top-notch. Ridley Scott shows that he's still a great director, bringing epic storytelling and stunning visuals to life. It just goes to show that inaccuracies doesn't always mean something's bad. Sometimes a movie can take creative liberties and still be really entertaining or impactful. Right now, a third Gladiator movie is in early development, so I'm excited to see what's next. I'm eager to see Gladiator 2 do well enough at the box office to make the sequel happen without such a long wait. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos about historical epics.
As you can see, Gladiator 2 is absolutely incredible. The acting is top-notch, with every actor giving their best performance, making you feel connected to the characters. The fight scenes are intense and exciting, with lots of action that keeps you on the edge of your seat. You can't help but be amazed by the stunning visual effects. Everything from the arenas to the massive battles feels larger than life. The costume design is another standout. The attention to detail in the armor and clothing really brings the ancient world to life and makes everything look so authentic. You feel like you're really stepping into ancient Rome. The whole movie has this epic, grand feel that's hard to find in many films today. Movies like Gladiator 2 don't come around too often, so it's always a real treat to watch one. Ridley Scott, once again, proves why he's such a legendary director. His ability to create such an engaging, visually stunning film is unmatched, and he's done it again here with Gladiator 2. It's the kind of movie that you remember long after leaving the theater. Gladiator 2 completely blows SAO out of the water. SAO is a dull mess that fails to do anything exciting. It drags on with boring storylines and flat characters that never make you care. The pacing is slow, and there's just no energy to keep you hooked. Gladiator 2, on the other hand, keeps you on the edge of your seat with amazing action, intense drama, and characters you actually want to watch. It's on a whole other level, and SAO just can't compete. The characters in SAO are lifeless and uninteresting. They don't have any depth, and you never feel like they're real people. It's hard to get invested when the writing doesn't bother to give them any real growth or personality. Meanwhile, Gladiator 2 has characters with real, emotional weight and development. Every character's journey feels meaningful, and you can actually feel their struggles. As for the story, SAO is lazy and predictable. It's filled with recycled ideas that don't offer anything new or exciting. It's the kind of show that makes you wish you were doing something else. The plot is badly written, with twists that are obvious from a mile away. Gladiator 2, on the other hand, delivers an epic story with high stakes and a world that feels alive. It's a movie that actually grabs your attention and makes you feel something. If you're looking for another amazing movie featuring Pedro Pascal, definitely check out The Great Wall.
The colored mountains here are actually real. They're located in Zhangye, a prefecture-level city in the Gansu province of China. Tovar's backhanded compliment here really fits his personality, so I'll give him merit for that. It's cool how all the people in the military wear different colored armor to differentiate which squad they belong to. The armor itself also looks pretty awesome. I've got to give a merit for the costume designers. The filmmakers were denied permission to film on the actual Great Wall of China, so it was digitally added. I gotta give a merit because it looks very realistic. This movie has some pretty good visual effects. The Taotai creatures actually look very menacing. This scene is pretty similar to the movie World War Z. As it turns out, Max Brooks worked on the story of both movies. This is probably a homage to him. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. Also, Matt Damon trained with a world-class champion archer for his role in this movie. I gotta give a merit for Matt Damon's dedication to the role. Very sincere conversation here between Commander Lin and General Shao. That's pretty awesome. Tovar yawning here is a nice touch. He's done this trick with William many times before, so it doesn't really excite him. This movie does a great job answering the audience's questions. I'm sure that a lot of people were wondering how Commander Lin is able to speak fluent English. Very sincere conversation here between William and Commander Lin. Another sincere conversation here between William and Commander Lin. It's cool how the movie included these illustrations to go along with the exposition. It's nice how this movie doesn't forget about the laws of physics. Again, this movie has some pretty good visual effects. Awesome fight scene here. William and Tovar work well together. This movie has some pretty cool explosions. It's cool how William remembered what Commander Lin told him earlier in the movie. That's pretty deep. This movie does a great job explaining William's motivation. He wants to stay and fight because he feels like he has wasted his entire life just fighting for money. Now William finally has another reason to fight. This is a really cool shot and it shows the vastness of the tunnel. William's decision to stay and fight definitely fits his personality, so I'll give him merit for that. Throughout this movie, we're shown that William is extremely committed and steadfast. The capital city looks very beautiful. The visual effects artist did a great job creating a very exquisite city. Also, Bianliang was indeed once the capital of the Song dynasty. That's also the time period that this movie takes place in. I'm giving a merit for this movie being historically accurate. Those hot air balloons are pretty cool. This This is a really awesome shot. The Capitol's military armor is very cool. Once again, the costume designers did a great job. Awesome Captain America style shield throwing. That's pretty awesome. This movie definitely has some very cool explosions. Very sincere conversation here between William and Tovar. It's nice how William chose to take Tovar instead of the black powder. It just goes to show that they're very good friends even though they've had many disagreements. Once again, it fits with William's personality and it shows how he's very loyal to his friends. Commander Lin's armor here is pretty cool. Very sincere conversation here between William and Commander Lin. Awesome end credits. It definitely fits with the style and theme of this movie, so I'll give a merit for that.